Hello, this is Akiko Sudano, StampinInTheMeadows.com, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Dealer from Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Let me just check and make sure that I'm set up in the right place. I think I am. Awesome. Thank you very much for joining me today. I am going to make show you how to make this pretty card, and this is using the Prized Peony stamp bundle, which consists of the Prized Peony dies and the Prized Peony stamp set over here, and the Peony dies. Hello, Patricia. Thank you very much for joining me today. And for this card, I'm going to use the dies to create this pretty 3D peony. And then on the inside, we'll actually stamp, use the peonies, the stamps, and decorate the inside of this one. This card, I have to admit, was taken, the design was is cased from, hi Chi, thank you very much for joining me today, is from this card in the catalog. So I saw this die and I said, oh, I gotta learn how to make that 3D peony, and so this is my attempt at doing so. One of the things that you'll find throughout the catalog is the concept of taking a design and stepping it up. And so what I've done is I have stepped this one up a little bit by adding some of the embellishments, and this is the elegant faceted jewel embellishments, and then I had to use this beautiful gray granite shimmer ribbon that's almost like a silver to also embellish this. And then I popped the little panel on with dimensional so that it has even more dimension. So, and then I think you could do some more, but I decided to just leave it at that, just for those two little things. Hi, Karen. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining me today. And let me see, is there something else? Oh, one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and that's going to be one of the first things that we're going to do, is that the sentiment, I don't know if you've ever used stamped part of a sentiment, but we're going to use tape to tape off our stamp before we ink it up, and then turn this "Your Sweet Friendship Refreshes the Soul" into just this sweet friend stamp that we're going to do on the card. I don't know how many of you have ever tried that technique before. It works out pretty well with this one because, and I'll show you how that works. And then this little label is cut with this pretty die. It's got it does a embossing thing as well as trimming that little scallop thing on the bottom. So let's start first with making this label. And this is a 1.5 inch piece of gray granite stock, and you can see that pretty scalloping on the bottom. Hi, Kathy. Thank you very much for joining. You can see that pretty scalloping on the bottom there with the embossed, or I guess debossed, whatever, the embossing that this die does in just one step. It automatically does that for you. So let's, here's the stamp, and you can see you've got all of this other stuff. So what I'm going to do is take just a couple of pieces of Scotch tape. First, I'm going to cover the "your" with it so that I just have, and I want to make sure I cover everything and not, I want to cover everything on the top word, but you want to make sure you have everything on the sweet showing. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if I'm out of the the light, but hopefully you can see that. So we're going to do that, and then I want to cover up the bottom part. So this is going to be fine, and we're not going to have the ship part of the friendship. So it's okay if we put the tape to cover all of that. So I'm going to put this other piece of Scotch tape, and this is just regular Scotch tape, covering it up. See, so that part is covered up, and then we'll do one more where we cover up the ship. So all that's left is Sweet Friend. And we don't want to cover up the D, just the S. There. I think that's good. All right. And then we're going to ink it up with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Yes, Patricia, that scallop is so pretty. Now this ends up looking really, really messy, especially over where you've taped it, because it just kind of it all sticks to the tape. And then you want, once you've got it inked up, and rubber stamps are really, really good with doing this because it gives you extra time. Then I'm going to just take these pieces of tape and be careful that I don't smear it on my fingers. And don't know if you can see that, but you've got the ink just on the Sweet Friend. So I'll throw that away, and then we'll put it on our little, and we're going to put it down here on the bottom, and somewhere, I think like that is good. There we go. And that ended up being pretty good. So we've got our little banner done, and then the next thing that we want to do is let's go ahead and adhere the mat to the designer series paper. And this is the I think this is called Peony Garden designer series paper, and this is one of the new ones that is in the Peony suite. I think it's called the Peony Garden suite, and it's just really pretty. I love peonies. My peonies are blooming, but they're all on the ground because of all the rain that we had. So it's kind of sad, but we'll see them next year. And put this down and adjust it. Make sure we got it centered good. That looks, oops. And don't do that. See if we've got it. Yeah. Good. Let's try this again. That looks good. There. Okay. There we go. And then the next thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead and put this panel on top of this, and we'll just put this on directly with glue. And we'll put it on maybe about a little more, about 3/4 of an inch from the edge there. Okay, I feel like I've got glue all over my fingers. Okay, so I think this is done. So let's go ahead and start assembling the peony. Now, one of the things that I it did when I saw the picture in the catalog, and I looked it up. It turns out that that peony is watercolored, but I wanted to use just plain cardstock instead of using watercolor paper. So I just decided to cut everything out of Whisper White, and I went ahead and I sponged Mossy Meadow ink on all the leaves, because on my sample card I think I picked up some green on the edge here when I was sponging the petal pink on my on this flower. But I wanted to show you the dies here. For each of these dies, I think that you could also do this with plain cardstock, Mossy Meadow cardstock, or if you want to go lighter with Old Olive or Pear Pizzazz, because with each of these leaves you've got two different pieces. It's a very complex. It's not. There's a lot of dies in this set. So this little leaf, which I didn't use, has this piece that goes on it, and those two go together, and then these two go together. So you've got, each leaf has two different die cuts that go to make it up, so that you've got dimension and you've got texture in your leaf. If you automatically, if you decide you're going to go ahead and use cardstock instead of sponging it or watercoloring it in order to get a different effect with that. So I would definitely, you know, I think that would end up being very, very nice as well. And then there's this, let me go ahead and talk about the peony pieces first. You've got four different die cuts, and I cut all of these out of Whisper White, and it's they're graded, they're graduated in size. You've got a small one right here, and then a second size number 2, size number 3, and then this is the largest one. This is the outside one. And one of the things that you notice is that I've got all of these so that the bottom is here, that they have the same kind of curves on the bottom. So as you put them together, so you just line up the bottom of those curves and stuff. So it's really kind of a neat set. And then you've got the little stamen. And in this stamen, I went ahead and I just used my Stampin' blend to color it. This is another one that you could have used to just out of cardstock. And on the one, my sample card, I used the light Daffodil Delight, and I felt like that was getting lost, so I just decided to go with a dark Daffodil Delight, but just use the Stampin' blend to give that a little color. I wanted to make it a yellow color, so I'll put that aside until we're ready to assemble. And then now what we're going to do is go ahead and sponge. What I've gotten my little sponge dauber, and use that to sponge petal pink ink on the petals of the peony. And I think that on my sample card I could have used a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and use a little heavier coloring here on this. Now this is the smallest one, so this is going to be the center one. So I think this one can be the darkest, because usually on flowers you've got the most intense color on the center of the flower. So give him a lot of a good amount of color, and I think this is a little bit more color than the sample flower. Then I'm going to go to the second one, and one of the other things that I noticed about the picture is that the petals in the back here are going to be in the background, so they can also be a little bit more intense in color. So we'll sponge some color on the back of the petals there, and then we'll sponge some on the bottom here, because that's going to be not quite sure where it's going to end up covering, but that way our tips can be more of a white and lighter color. but each flower is going to be a little different, and that is fine. That works out good. Again, I'm going to keep the back. Another thing that I noticed when I looked at the flower in the catalog is that they have done a nice job of making it kind of dimensional by folding up the. I don't know exactly how they fold it up. I don't want to. Folding is probably the wrong word, but how they end up having the petals kind of come up a little bit more. But I'm not quite sure how they did it. But I think that having it be flat is pretty spectacular, because this die is a pretty spectacular die for flowers, period. So I think that one is good. And then let's get this is and what I want to do is I want to lay the color around this area, lay it pretty strongly there, as well as I think probably in the back too. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. And then give it some more the back here. There we go. I think that's good enough. We'll leave it like that. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the little stamen, and I'm going to put just a little dot of liquid glue here. And I'm going to do this on the front, and it's going to stick to the back of this. This is the smallest. Let me get these in order. This is the smallest flower section. So I'm going to stick this in here, kind of give us some room so that kind of make a little pocket, and then stick it in there, and then let's see. Oops. One of the things too is that it's going to be a little tricky. Sometimes your stamen things get stuck up here as you go to position it, but you can kind of do this and figure out how much of your stamens you want to have stick out or not stick out. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is this one is going to slide into the, actually I think this one we're going to slide in from the bottom, like so. Like so. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some liquid glue on the bottom here. And basically for all of these, I put liquid glue on the bottom so that it would stick to the flower section that's the next largest flower section, and push it in like that through the cracks. Isn't this neat? And then kind of, and it doesn't have to be exact. Isn't that neat? So that's two pieces that are done. And then the next one will slide in, and I think this one of them was a little tricky in sliding in from the top. So, and then you don't want to, I wonder how, yeah, okay. So I'm going to stick that out a little bit, because you don't want to get glue. You want enough glue, and I'm just using liquid glue, but I think you could also use mini glue dots if you wanted. But you want to make sure that it sticks when you're ready to stick it down. and you push it down, and so there's the back, and see how it lines up. I'm going to bring this a little closer. I'm not sure if the white on white is enough to distinguish it, but then it looks like that. And then this top one I've slid in like that. So we'll put some glue here and here. And slide it in. And check the back and line it up a little bit on the back. And there. So there we have the flower is pretty much done. That's all there is. So the glue is right down here, and that's holding it up. So we've got, where's our little panel? We've got our little panel right here that we've already created. So then we're going to just arrange the leaves, put one going down and then two of them going up like this. I want to make sure we have our sentiment, two of them together, and then one of them going down like this, and then just add some glue. Oh, and then let's just check our flower. Our flower will go right there, and yep, it looks like everything is got enough room. So add some glue back here to adhere this guy down. Put a little glue right here. And then right here. There. All right. And then the flower will go right on top here like this. Now, one of the things that I did was I went ahead and I wanted this to have a little bit more dimension. So what I did was I put dimensionals up here so that it would bring it up, and then just more glue down here so that this would so that it would kind of be a little bit more like this. All right, so let's put our dimensionals up there. And this is where the cut dimensionals really come in handy, because it kind of gives you a nice flat edge towards the center. There we go. We'll clean them up, take the covers off. So how are you guys liking the new catalog? It's wonderful. I think this is one of the best Stampin' Up! Catalogs that they've had in a while. So they've, I think it's really been great. Hoping that you guys are enjoying it too. So I'm going to use my tweezers to pull this down and arrange the flower on the leaves like this. Oh, there's a dimensional cover on my finger. Press down so that it stays. Leave that there. Okay. Let's see. Now let's go ahead and put this on the front of the card, and I'm gonna put this on with more dimensionals, and then we'll add the rest of our embellishments to the front. couple more in the center to give that support so that it doesn't sag down. And another thing that you could do to step this up even more is if you wanted to put an embossed panel on top of that. That would also make it awesome. So let's get this. See what we can do to get this straight. I'll have all of the dimensions of all the different pieces on my blog tomorrow morning so that you can see what everything is. There we go. I think we're good. We're done with this for now. And I've already created a bow. Which side? I think this side looks neater. With the bows, I think that I like having it so that this, I've got a complete piece of ribbon across the front here, whereas this one is kind of messy. So we'll put this part in the back. It's kind of like a V shape on the bottom. So put that in the back, but we'll put a glue dot on here. This shimmer ribbon, it looks like it's silver, but this is gray granite, and we'll put it right. Actually, I'm going to put it up here so I don't cover up my sentiment. There we go. Cover up too much of my sentiment. There we go. And let's see. Okay, and then these are the elegant faceted dots and faceted gems, I think. Elegant faceted gems. And I think, and they have like clear and then petal pink, and then these are like frosted. So I used clear on the, let's go ahead and use clear. And I'm going to take 3 of these, and I put one here. I'm glad, Patricia. I wasn't sure how this thing fit together either. And I was looking for like videos or instructions. I was surprised that Stampin' Up! Didn't come up with a video for putting it together. But it really wasn't that hard. Now this is pretty flat. I didn't on this one. I tried to curl up the petals, but then I ended up putting creases here. So this is not after you put it together, you want to be careful, because I think the creases don't look as pretty as if you curled it up with your bone folder beforehand. But you know what? This is so complex and it's just so intricate. It looks beautiful, I think, even just flat. And maybe as we play with it a little bit more and see some of the different things that other people do, we'll be able to come up with another alternative. So we've got our ribbon and we've got our gems, and those are the clear, elegant, faceted gems. So now let's go ahead and do the inside of the card. And we've got... This is the medium-sized Peony stamp, and I stamped it in petal pink again, and then I stamped it off before putting it in, putting it on the corner here, and I just did one in the lower corner, and kind of on an angle, just like the flower is on an angle, the flower on the front. And then add this little strip of Designer Series paper. It's the same as the front Designer Series paper, just add a little strip of that to the bottom here. So definitely look at the catalog for inspiration to get ideas for cards that you want to create, and then you can add your own twist by stepping it up, or even just copying them, because they've got some really pretty pretty things in there. Okay, and then put some glue on. And then put our panel on the inside. Oops, that stamp is wet. Don't want to mess things up. So just slide this in. That looks good. There. And that's our card. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. And thank you, Stampin' Up, for giving us such pretty products to use. And I hope everybody has a great week. And next weekend is Father's Day. Next Sunday's Father's Day. So I think what I'll do is I will move my video to Saturday afternoon. But thank you again for joining me today. And everybody have a great week. Bye-bye.